This is how I look with a hat on. Wow. How can I do this? Alright, sorry, I'm trying to get this, having to hold the iPad because I don't have a charge, so I'm wearing this hat because my hair's not done. Hey, Michelle. Man, it's been a minute. It's been what? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? You know, the last couple of weeks I actually had to, I was traveling. So because I was traveling, I didn't have an opportunity to do the Facebook Live, but here we go. Let's give it a few more minutes, and then we will get going. Hey, Peggy. Good evening, ma'am. I had to go back and look at my notes because this is 2 weeks ago. It was supposed to be the another conversation about sex, and I had to go back and go over my notes and find my notes that I had put together. Go back and reread emails and get to get familiar with it again. But we got it. Okay. Don't want to take up too much time, but let's go ahead and get started on this one. I wanted to touch on, before we got too deep, I wanted to touch on a couple of topics. One topic in particular is why some good men and some good women are still single. And, every time I do this part, I always get a little bit of feedback. I just want to be clear. I'm not saying anything that I say about, why you may be single and things like that, because it applies to everybody who's single. I'm simply giving you some tips from my experience. Sometimes some of the things that I found is that we're single because of ourselves, not because of what other people are doing or are not doing. It's because of what, we're doing to sabotage who we are. So I'm just going to touch on 2 reasons for the women, 2 reasons for the men, why, we may be struggling not to be single. So, ladies, you go first. Some of the women who are single, not all the women, but some of the women who may be single might be single because you're holding out for a man who's shown you that he does not want to be in a relationship with you. Now, that doesn't make him a bad person if he's told you that he doesn't want to be in a relationship. The problem is sometimes, unfortunately, some women hold out, believing that man's going to change his mind, or if she just proves this, or she just does that he's going to come around and see the value in her, and that's just not how it works. The bottom line of it is, you don't have to convince a man that you're a good woman. Either he recognizes it or he doesn't. If he doesn't recognize it, okay, that ends up being his loss. If he does recognize it and he doesn't know what to do or doesn't know how to handle it, still it's his loss. But don't hold out forever while you're waiting on this guy to come around and you're passing up good men. I mean, men that actually step to you the right way, approach you and try to be a gentleman about it. A man who actually comes up and knows how to talk intelligently to you. He's not in your DM sending you pics that you don't want or anything like that. What he's actually doing is trying to get to know you. You're so caught up in this man that's unattainable that you could be blind and oblivious to that man who really wants you. So one reason, women, ladies, why some women may be single is because you're holding out for a guy that has already told you and he's shown you that he doesn't want you. Hey, cuz. Hey, Sonny. All right, fellas. Now, please don't think for a second that we get left off the hook, because we're talking about the ladies and the men. So, fellas, this one's for you. Fellas, you might be single simply because you're selfish. You don't want to give in, and you don't want to have to give of yourself in a way that is constructive for the greater good of the relationship. You just want to be single and free. You just want to be able to come and go as you please. No obligation, no expectation. And the thing is this: you'll always lead and tell the ladies that I'm not looking for a relationship. But you do all the things that leads a woman to thinking that you want to be in a relationship. And then when she starts to get emotionally caught up and involved, you default back to what you said in the beginning. And you say, I told you from the jump, I didn't want to be in a relationship. You can't confuse relationship treatment and not wanting to be in a relationship and expect a woman not to feel some type of way. That is completely selfish. Not only is it selfish, it's irresponsible, because what you're doing is you're stirring something up inside of that woman. You're stirring up hope. And when you get a woman believing that something is about to come around, she gets in that situation, in that condition that I just talked about, holding out for a man that's told her that he doesn't want to be in a relationship. That's a two-sided event. So, fellas, it's irresponsible for us to tell a woman that we don't want to be in a relationship with her and exhibit relationship type treatment. That's just not how it works. It's unfair, and it's irresponsible, and it is incredibly selfish when we do things like that. So those things keep us single, because it brings about bad relationship karma. That stuff always comes back around. I want you to think about that woman that you thought was the one, and for whatever reason she just wasn't interested. For whatever reason she just didn't want to give you the time of day. That's because you brought bad relationship karma on yourself. Is what it is. Hey, Deshaun. All right, ladies, turn the page back. Oh man, this is one that, ladies, now look, I'm gonna give you some real talk with this one. Ladies, you have a sliding list of qualifications. A sliding list that's ever evolving, and a list that, is morphing the more or the closer a man gets to meeting all of the qualifications on the list. Here's what I mean. Okay, so you want a guy that's tall. You need a guy that's tall. Well, you want a guy that's tall and built. Okay, you meet a guy that's tall and built. Then you want the guy to be tall, built, and brown skinned. Okay, then you finally meet the guy that's tall, built, and brown skinned. Then you want the guy to have, his own everything, and that's reasonable. You want him to be tall, built, brown skinned, gainfully employed, and a responsible adult. That's reasonable. And then when you meet that man, he works too much. When you meet that man that brings all those qualifications to the table, there's another flaw. You're looking for a reason to be single. You're not looking for a reason to invest in the relationship. You're looking for a reason not to be in the relationship. And by looking for a reason not to be in the relationship, you're always going to be single, because you're going to pull that man that meets that list. And then when that man gets there, he's going to be turned off or turned away because you added something new to the list that he can't compete with. So either you want to be in the relationship or you don't, or you're constantly changing the rules. Bottom line of it is, having a standard, there's nothing wrong with that. Having an impossible standard will keep you single. All right, fellas. Last one, and then we'll move into our topic for the night. Fellas, sometimes we're single because we're immature. I mean, it's the bottom line of it. We are single because we are immature. And here's what I mean by immature. We don't understand the true weight of masculinity. And I mean the true weight of masculinity, meaning that masculinity comes with protection. When we are truly masculine, we are protecting our women, our children, our communities, and each other. So at this point, we're just not coming with that level of masculinity. We're coming with games. We're coming with Xbox and PlayStation 2 and 3 and 4 type games, as opposed to coming with masculinity and leadership. When I say leadership, I mean that leadership that doesn't even ask for submission. It inspires submission. I mean that leadership that steps into a room and it changes the tone of the room, because you're the man and your masculine energy is what brings people to inspiration. It inspires men, it inspires women, it inspires young men and young women. When we step to the table and we are mature, and we have that mature masculine energy, then we're about business. Otherwise, we're just immature. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how much you work out, how much money you got. If you are immature, you will never ever be able to keep a woman, because she will get tired of an immature, what do they call it, a grown boy. Women don't have time for grown boys. Maturity and masculinity, that's the one thing that's lacking in our community in droves. Maturity and our masculinity. When we step up and we begin to exert our masculinity and our maturity, our communities will straighten out. I mean, women have done as much as they can do. Now we have to do our part by being mature. As long as we keep acting like we're kids and we want to dress like the kids and walk around like the kids, we're going to have trouble. And we're probably going to be single. So I need you to understand, men, that there's a difference between being a male and being masculine. A difference between being masculine and mature. That's the point of it. We have to be mature, masculine men. All right, so I got one update. Not long ago, I got an inbox message from a young lady who said that she had been dating a married man for 8 years. And we had a follow-up conversation. And she said that she has gotten her key back from that guy. She made him bring her key and told him that she didn't want to see him anymore. So thankfully for her, she decided to move on and pursue a relationship with somebody who's not married. And I'm glad to hear that, because if a man is married and he's telling you he's married and he's showing you he's married and he's been married for 8 years, he's likely to stay married. So good for her. All right, I want to talk about this sex topic. I have two scenarios, one from a man and one from a woman. The one from the woman, and I'm looking at my notes, it goes like this. She says, I've been celibate for 2 years. I met a very nice man, and I want to sleep with him. More than that, I want a relationship, but I fear that he will leave me if we sleep together. We have dated for 6 months, and it's getting harder to resist him. Should I risk the relationship and have sex with him, or should I make him wait a little longer? Now, when I get these types of inboxes, I always ask a bunch of questions. So some of the questions I asked her if she told him up front that she was celibate, and she said yes. I asked her why she was being celibate. She said she wanted to be celibate. She's celibate because she wanted her next sexual experience to have more meaning, and she wanted it to happen in a committed relationship. Okay. And I asked her, how far did they go as far as them hanging out and things like that? Well, she told me that they were both were topless, and and he actually touched the kitty. Now, this is a celibate woman. All right, so here are my responses to her. I asked her, why did she lead off telling him that she was celibate? She said, and this has a point to this, she said she wanted to be upfront about it because she didn't want any type of discrepancy or anything like that. Yeah, she didn't want any confusion about it. My response to that is this, ladies. If you are celibate, you don't have to tell a man you're celibate. You can just show him. You can show him by what you do not do, places you do not go, situations that you don't put yourself in. He'll realize it. I don't believe that celibacy is something that you put out there and say, hey, I'm celibate. I believe you show somebody you're celibate. Now, I'm not criticizing her. I'm not saying that, she's a bad person, because we're all human. What I'm saying is celibacy is something that you show someone with your behavior, not with your words. So I called her out. I said, hey, if you're truly celibate, you put yourself in a situation where you had your shirt off and there was skin-to-skin contact. That is like one of the worst things you can do as a celibate person. Next, you actually let him put his hand in between your legs. Now, we know how hot it was down there. If you've been celibate for 2 years and this is the first time a man has put his hand between your legs, come on now. You're putting yourself in a situation where you are jeopardizing your celibacy. Next thing I said, and I'm pushing back, but I'm pushing back with love. I don't want you guys to think I was beating up on her, but I was giving her, some real feedback. Next, you said that you two have been sexual, and being sexual and celibacy doesn't go together. It just doesn't. So here we are now. You've been dating this guy for 6 months, I believe. 6 months. And it's getting harder to resist him. Let's be real. It's not getting harder to resist him. It's getting harder to resist you. It's getting harder to resist the urges that you were having. So if that's the case, if you've gotten to this point where you are ready to give up your celibacy, because being real with yourself, you're ready to give it up now, you have to have a conversation with him. My recommendation is that you don't do it. That is my recommendation, that you not do it. You do need to have an open and honest conversation with him, because he now feels your weakness. He feels your weakness. He knows what happened when he put his hand in between your legs. He knows what happened. He knows how you respond to him. And you didn't tell me this, but I can tell you that every time he comes over, you get a little more physical with him. He gets a little more physical with you. I just know it. I know it because it's been 2 years for you. Everything that you said has told me that you are getting ready to give him your celibacy. Just be prepared for the consequences. And the consequences are, he may have just been holding out long enough just to get it. I don't believe that to be the case. I'm saying that could be a consequence. So just make sure that this is a well thought out conversation that you have, and make sure it's a mature conversation. Let him know how serious your celibacy is to you, how serious your desire to have a relationship is, and see how he responds. Before you do anything else, have that conversation. My recommendation is that you don't do it. But if you keep going down the route that you're in, or that you have been going down, it's going to happen. So good luck with that. I'm going to follow up with you now, and I'm pulling for you. I hope you make the best decision for you and for him. All right, fellas. Every time I get an inbox from a guy, it's real short. This one says, I enjoy porn, but I cannot get my girlfriend to watch it with me. Any tips? That's it. So, I asked him some questions. I asked him, okay, now what type of porn are you watching? He said all types, but mainly girl, and 2 girls and a guy. I asked him, has she ever watched porn with you? He said, yes, once. What type of porn did you show her? Girl. My question to him was, have you ever asked her what type of porn she likes? His response was no. Right there is the issue. And this is my conversation with him. Let me look at my notes. I told him it's not a porn issue. It's a communication issue. Because you showed her what you were looking at. It was girl porn. And that's what you showed her. And now you're asking me for tips to get her to watch porn with you. I don't have any tips for that. I have tips on communication. What you have to do now is you need to talk with her and see how she feels about pornography. Because hypothetically, in our conversation, I said she may like pornography too, just not girl. So if you haven't even asked her what she liked, you're not communicating with her. Now, look, she may surprise you and say, this is what I like, but you haven't bothered to ask. All that you've done is you've shown her what you liked. All you've done is said, hey, this is something that I'm into. That's all you've done. You don't have a problem with porn. You have a problem with communication. In addition to that, you have to be prepared that she may not like porn at all. She may look at it with disgust. There might be something that she sees in porn that triggers a bad memory or an insecurity or something like that. The bottom line of it is you don't have a problem with porn. You have a problem with communication. And you need to talk to your woman about it. And you need to talk to her openly about it. Say, hey, remember a couple of weeks ago or however long it was, I wanted you to watch porn with me. I want to know how you felt about that. And be quiet. That's how you ask it. I want to know how you felt about that. And you be quiet. And then you listen. If she tells you that it's something bad from her childhood, brother, you're going to have to let that porn go. You really going to have to let it go. If you're serious about her. If she says, it was okay, I just don't like that type of porn, then you ask her, what type do you like? And you listen. The bottom line of it is, more times than not, between men and women in our relationships, we have communication problems. We don't have other problems. We have communication problems. We could have a problem with, the way she wears her hair. But we never communicated. So most of our problems, they all fall down to communication. And communication is the key to getting to the bottom of this. Now, I'm not making you any guarantees that she's going to like any type of porn. What I'm going to guarantee you is that if you have an open and honest conversation with her about it, she will appreciate that. Now, the open and honest communication has to come with a safe place. And by safe place, I mean some place that she's free to express herself. She's free to say, hey, this is how I feel about it. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Without judgment. You can't come back later and say, well, dang, I hate that I asked you this question. If you're serious about this relationship and this woman, porn becomes secondary. Actually, it's not even secondary. It's tertiary. It's way down the list, as a matter of fact. Because if you give her a safe place and you understand what she likes, she becomes more comfortable with you. The more comfortable a woman becomes with you, the more eager she is to satisfy you. And she may satisfy you in ways that porn could never hold a candle to. The only way that it starts, though, is if you communicate with her and you allow her to express herself judgment-free. That's it. No way around it. So, I had a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about, and then we're done. I got an inbox message from a friend, and she asked me, hey, how do you know when a guy loves you? I said, he shows you. More than anything else, more than what he says, he shows you with his actions. She said, well, I'm afraid that this guy that I'm dating may love me. I'm like, what are you afraid of? She said, I'm afraid because I don't want to get hurt. Okay, so here's the pushback. What do you want? What do you want? You said that you wanted a guy who cared about you. With his actions, you're telling me that you have a guy who is showing you that he loves you. And now you're scared. You can't have it all. Ladies, I'm sorry to tell you, you cannot have it all. If you have a man that is showing you that he loves you with his actions, don't get scared. Embrace that. Because what you're going to do is you're going to turn him off. If he starts to feel like his actions aren't getting him anywhere, because you're starting to close yourself off to him, that's not going to sit well with him. It's not going to do it. So at this point, what you need to do is you need to be fearless. If you have a man that is showing you that he cares, you need to be fearless. fearless. If you're not going to be fearless, you're wasting his time. Not your time, his time. Because this is a man who has the capacity to love. You're showing that you don't have the capacity to receive. That's a problem. You got something to work on. Because I would be doggone if I'm going out my way and I'm showing you that I love you and I'm showing you that I care for you and you don't know how to receive it. If I'm pouring into you, I believe that will bring you to the point where you will reciprocate. But if I start to see that I'm pouring into you or attempting to pour in you and you're moving the glass and all this good loving is spilling out on the counter, no, not going to do it. So I really need you to understand, in that example, I need you to understand that if the man is showing you that he loves you, now's not the time to be scared. Now's not the time to act all shy and insecure. No, you need to tackle whatever is inside of you and open yourself up to the love he's trying to give you. That's the bottom line with that. So, yeah, you're going to have to let that go, play, yeah. And again, I'm going to follow up with you because I truly hope that you'll work that out, because now you have the awesome responsibility of receiving love from a man. I don't understand the problem. I'll tell you what it is. There isn't a problem. It's an imaginary problem. It's something that you're building up inside you. I need you to understand that you're worth it. You're worth it. Yeah, it's risky. Yeah, you're exposing yourself. Yeah, it's worth it. There is no better risk to take in the world than the risk of being loved. Bottom line. Okay, so I got one last thing, and then we are done. Fellas, I discovered something the other day. I was reading. I do a lot of reading about a lot of things, and one thing that I read, and I've always been a person who studied this, was what true submission is. I've always understood the part of submission that, submission is a gift. It's a gift to be earned and given to you in the form of trust and respect and admiration. It takes a lot of work to get true submission from a woman. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Submission, in fact, is the responsibility of total protection. I mean total protection. It's the protection from outside enemies. It's the protection from financial enemies. It's the protection from societal issues. It's the protection from internal demons. It's the protection from everything. Everything. Not just the protection of the household. True submission is the protection of everything concerning that woman. That's what you're responsible for. That's what we're responsible for. I've been a pretty tough and pretty vocal critic for a long time towards single mothers. And I have to admit that I've had it wrong. I really have had it wrong. Single mothers aren't the problem. They are the symptom. Single mothers are not the problem. They are the symptom of the bigger problem. And the biggest problem of all is that we men in our community have not provided the proper protection for our women. I've had it wrong. I'm admitting right now, I've had it all wrong. Because if the woman is single and having to raise that child as a single parent, that means that the man who fathered that child did not provide the protection. And that falls on all of us men. I'm just blown away, and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm wrong, but the bottom line of it is, in our community, we have not protected our women. Therefore, we have not earned the submission because we haven't lived up to that standard. So I need you guys to understand. Submission is not about having your food cooked, or a woman walking behind you, or a woman doing what you ask her or tell her to do. That is not what submission is. Submission is the total protection of the woman. And we got some work to do. So I don't want to get too deep on that, because that was such an incredible revelation to receive that and to read that and to be blown away. So that's it. I just want people to understand. I'm not doing this because I don't have anything else to do. I'm doing this because I finally have discovered what I'm supposed to do. And when you learn what you're supposed to do, or it's revealed, or you finally feel it, things change. And a lot has changed real quickly for me. So I'm not going to go much longer. I just wanted to say that piece. Submission is something that we have to earn, and we really have to start to protect our women in ways that we haven't done in a long, long, long time. So that's it. If you're free on Saturday between 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'd like for you to join me on Instinct Radio. I'll be doing a radio show, live radio show. It'll be on Facebook Live. You'll see it. Called Let's Talk About It Live with Jeffrey L. Miller. I'll tell you one thing. I will be going in on this show. I'm going to have some very intelligent, strong, successful women on the radio show. Claudette Ross is going to be there. Lee Forbes, Jameson, I believe is her last name. Forgive me, Lee, if I got your last name wrong. I believe it's Jameson. And Chief Melody Maddox will be there. And we're going to have some real deep conversations about some of the things that happen with women on the job, in professional positions, or women who are basically judged for the way that they look. And we're going to get deep with it. We're also going to talk about, just like we did tonight, why some men and why some women might be single, and some other topics that I'm going to keep close to the vest. But if you're free this Saturday, 6 o'clock p.m., 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, man, I'd love it for you if you would just join us on Instinct Radio. www.instinctradio.net. That's it. So I'll be back next week. I'll try not to be gone so long, but I appreciate everybody for joining me. Hey, Sonny. Hey, Candace. Hey, Tracy. Long time no see. Man, I'm glad you joined in, too. Hey, Keita. Looking forward to talking to all of you. Hey, Deshaun. Looking forward to talking to you all again real soon. That's it. Deuces.